Hello, Internet audience. My name is Sam Berliner. I use he and they pronouns, and I'm a programmer with Frameline44. And I'm super excited to welcome you to this evening screening of Rūrangi. Thank you so much to our audience for joining us for this Q&A. And we're so honored to have a bunch of guests with us from the film. That's the magic of doing these remotely. It means more people can join, so it's awesome. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves to you. Please say your name, your role on the film, and then we'll dive in.
Hi, I'm Cole. I'm the writer and co-producer, and I use he and they pronouns.
Hi, I'm Elz Carrad. I play Kaz Davis, the lead in Rūrangi, and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Craig Gainsborough. I am the producer on Rūrangi, and I use he, him pronouns.
Kia ora everyone, my name is Max Currie. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the director of Rūrangi.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you're all here. This is wonderful. I'm really, really excited. I love this movie, first of all. So congratulations to all of you on a really fantastic film. And I'm just so happy that we've gotten to share it with our audience at Frameline.
Thanks, Sam.
You're welcome. Thank you. I thought I might start with a question for Cole. And I know that you're the writer, also a co-producer, and also a consultant, and a lot of different hats. I'd love to hear where this story came from.
Ooh, it was really exciting for me when Craig asked me to be involved with this because it was a chance to tell a story that we hadn't kind of got a chance to ever tell before. A uniquely Kiwi story and a story that really centered trans people, both as the leads and as the people kind of in charge of major creative decisions, but also as the main audience that were considered the whole time. And so that kind of also involved a consultation panel who were there to sort of guide the decisions the whole way through. But yeah, I mean, when we first started, I had a lot of ideas about what I didn't want to see, what I didn't want to make because of the things that I'd seen and hated myself. And also a lot of things that I did want to see because they were the kinds of stories and kinds of things that were happening in my community that I just hadn't ever seen before. And, you know, a lot of that positive stuff about trans people being successful and having jobs and having friends and love and affection and romance and yeah. And so, I mean, I think I hope we've kind of put all of those things into the story.
I definitely think that shows. I think you said there was kind of like a panel of people guiding it. What did that look like? Because I think it really comes through in the film.
What it looked like was 5 trans consultants who were kind of handpicked by me and all sort of major people within the community in New Zealand. So not just kind of 5 random trans people I found on the street or anything and hauled into this. You know, some very big names within the Aotearoa trans community, and they met with me, I think at least 5 times throughout the process at various stages, and kind of read scripts and watched edits and all these sorts of things, and gave their feedback, and then that was taken into account and changes were made, and they had veto power as well. as far as if there was anything that was majorly wrong, to say, hey, this is not cool, and change it, basically, which was really awesome. It meant that I was also not the sole trans voice there, kind of having to, make all these decisions or use only my frame of reference. So we had a wide variety of life experiences and identities were kind of as part of that panel.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think that really shows. You can just, I don't know, maybe it's just me because I watch a lot of things that come through the festival circuit and things that are submitted over the years, but I feel like you can tell when something has a lot of trans people of different experiences behind it. And that's one of the things that I think makes this film extra special, because you really feel it.
Yeah, well, it's, we're all intersectional activists, and so it was.
No, that's great. Thank you. So Craig, it sounds like you reached out to Cole. So did you have the original idea for the film, or did Max? How did this come to be?
Well, the original idea for the film actually came out of for the series originally. It's grown into a film now. Came out of a writer's room at a media organization I was working at. And there's been another writer, who Cole's been working alongside in the early drafts, called Oliver Page, who, wonderful guy, and he worked with us on those early drafts, and then kind of Cole moved in to take over as we got later down the track. But those, so it was right at that early stage in that writer's room, and immediately was recognizing that, we got a story here that needs to be told the right way. And I knew Cole and thought he was a great fit for it. And Cole has been writing at one of the major dramas in New Zealand called Shortland Street. So he's been writing there for quite a while. So he seemed like a great option to come on board and write it. So I gave him a call and said, do you want to join us? And he was keen. So that's really how it started. So, moving from the treatment into the first draft, Cole was on board right from then.
Got it. It's so interesting because you never know when you're watching something. You're like, where did this come from? And I love that it even from that stage came from a place collaboratively. So that's awesome. Hey Max, I'd love to know how you got connected to the film and what drew you to this project.
Well, I was lucky enough to be asked, and I think, that's kind of an interesting question for Craig to feed in on as well, because one of the big elephants in the room is I'm cisgendered, and so directing like a very trans-centered drama, that was, I guess, a challenge for the production, and I was drawn to so much about this, in particular the father-son relationship, and there was a lot in that as a gay guy that spoke really personally to me, and then there was also just big gaps in terms of like I have no idea what that experience is like. I have no idea what this feels like. I have no idea what this moment is like, for a trans person, and that's actually incredibly attractive as well. It's one of the real joys of being in this profession is that, and I think if we do it in the right way, we get a really deep experience of empathy. And so it was a mix of things that were very personal to me that I could absolutely relate to. And the way all these questions, I guess, and things that I didn't know or didn't understand seemed like an amazing opportunity, an amazing adventure. Yeah, so that's what drew me to Rūrangi.
For sure. I'm curious, how did it work on set or maybe in pre-production with getting everyone on set familiar with transgender concepts if they weren't already? I'm not sure who best to ask that question to. But you bring up a good point.
I might jump in and just quickly, add to that. So, yeah, I mean, I think all through the early development stage, and working with Cole and the rest of the team, it was very much intended that we would approach this with the most amount of inclusion we possibly could with the community, and with a focus on creating a safe environment for anybody who is trans or otherwise to come onto the set. So we actually put a training program together with working with Inside Out, which is one of the NGOs in Auckland, where we put the cast and crew, anybody who was involved, through a half-day-long gender and sexuality training awareness training program. That's a bit of a mouthful. And that was great because it broke the ice across the cast and crew, but it also allowed people to ask questions, if they had any, in a kind of safe environment with professional mentors there to guide and answer their questions, so that any questions that people might have are not being put on the members of our crew and cast that are trans, but they're rather being asked of people whose profession it is to actually respond and answer to them. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that this is not the first time I've heard this. It's even more mind-blowing. Like, I've heard it maybe like less than 5 times. And it's something that I think is growing, and that people recognize that it's important in order to create work, to have spaces that everyone can feel comfortable. And it, like I said at the very beginning, I think all of that really comes through on shows.
Another thing that we did along those lines was about empowering all the trans people that were involved to kind of break down, I guess, some of the traditional hierarchy and structure within film, so that if they did notice something in their department or on set or anything like that, that they felt empowered to bring it up, and that we could do something about that, rather than feel like, oh, I shouldn't say anything because I'm just this person down here or whatever. And having our internship program, our paid creative internship program, where we had trans people in all the major departments, so that there was, that eye on things from all these different angles.
That's awesome. So the learning went both directions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Gotcha. Now that it just makes me smile, and like almost hurting my face that it makes me smile so much, because it's like you're living the dream. I love it. Okay, Elz, I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. I got off asking all those questions, and I want to say you did such a good job. It was a pleasure to watch you in this film. And I just, the obvious question is, I'd like to know how you got connected, but more than that, I'd like to know if you related to the character in any way, or if a lot of that stuff felt new.
Yeah, I think when I got the script, it was certainly an instant sort of understanding of, I guess, just being transgender. So that foundation was set for me already. But I think we share a lot, Kaz and I, but we also are quite different in that Kaz is an activist and I'm not. In fact, I was never really a part of the transgender community. I've kind of just, and I don't know why. I mean, I think it's just probably where I was brought up. I was raised in a really small town. And I probably felt like I was the only transgender person in the whole town. And yeah, so I think that was probably the biggest challenge for me, actually, was trying to understand and learn, what is it like to be an activist? What is it like to be surrounded by, a range of different people, different gender identities? Because, it hasn't been in my experience. So it's all been really new for me. yeah.
I love that. That's so great. I'm curious. That was actually one of the things I was going to bring up was the storyline around activism. But hearing Cole talk, I was like, oh, I think that's maybe where that storyline came from.
Yeah, for me, it's like I don't understand what it's like to not be surrounded by trans people and activists.
Totally. I'm curious. Since our audience is not in New Zealand, I'm curious what it's like in New Zealand to be trans. Or maybe that's really hard to say because it's an entire country. So like, is it city based that you find more of this activism community like in the film, and then in the country less so? Is that kind of how it is?
I mean, I can talk about the city. New Zealand is probably one of the best places in the world to be trans, but that said, there's still a lot of shit stuff, basically. It's that thing of like, it's the best of a series of bad situations. Auckland, which is our biggest city, is probably the easiest place, I guess, just because of the access to resources. And there's a very large activist community here, and there's a large activist community in Wellington, which is our capital city. The other kind of cities do have some community like that, but it is very hard to be a trans person in rural New Zealand, because certainly medical transition resources are all focused in cities, and there isn't any sort of standardized set of care as such at this point. And so a lot of trans people do actually kind of end up coming to cities just in order to access transition resources.
Mm-hmm. So the film does reflect how your experience or what you've observed is in the country.
Yeah, definitely. And that's been some great feedback from the community here as well. Has been like, oh my god, this feels like my friends and my community, and oh look, that's my street, and oh look, there's my maid.
Yeah. No, that's great. I have another question for Max. I'm curious, what was the casting process like? And setting out to... Oh, go ahead.
What was it like? Sorry, Sam. What was it like in what way? Just general impressions?
Well, I think that a big part of the film, like you all have been saying, is the hashtag by us, not about us, which I think is also awesome that you were like, this is so cool that we're making it a hashtag.
Sam, we've updated that hashtag. That's an old one. It's by us and about us, because we realized that it is about the trans community. So we updated to by us and about us, which I think is more fitting. It's more positive as well.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Max, I more just meant from reading things about the film and hearing interviews and things, I got the impression that the intention was to cast trans people in as many roles or a lot of roles, and Indigenous actors, and I'm curious how that scouting process worked.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I mean, it was something that was an absolute for all of us, and especially I think it was one of the conditions, Cole, for you signing on board the project, right? You were like, I am not coming on board and kind of gracing you with all my work and effort and consultation if the trans characters aren't played by trans actors, which is just so fucking obvious. So I don't think we even need to discuss about why that's important. You're welcome to if you want, Sam. So that was one of the things. And we're a small country, and we haven't, something like Rūrangi just hasn't been made here before. So I mean, in so many ways, this process was about we were pioneers, really, and we had this amazing casting director, Kate McGill, who just like grabbed the bull by the horns and was incredibly inventive about sort of getting word out there. and to be honest, Sam, it was something I was really scared of when I was approached with the project, because Kaz is so central to the story, and as soon as you get given a script, you're like, okay, who from the riches, are we going to cast? And there just there wasn't a trans mask actor that kind of was prominent in any way, and it was kind of at that stage one of the real risks of the project. Rūrangi has great supporting actors, but it's not one of these ensemble pieces. It needs a really strong actor in the role of Kaz, who is at the center of the story. And so it was with kind of I was really nervous about whether we would find our actor, and praise be to the deity of your choice that Elz somehow found the project. I think, Elz, you were in Pack and Save, and you sort of got a call from your agent about this.
Yeah, I always seem to be in supermarkets when I get briefs or scripts. It's weird.
Yeah. And I was in Berlin at the time, and Sam, I have to ask about your last name, so I'm very curious about that. But and sort of just chewing my fingernails about this role, and I saw Elz's audition, and Elz, as you know, you just made me cry. It was so raw and beautiful and moving, and he was so incredibly charming. And I think as soon as Cole saw it as well, you were really excited, and we actually were like, okay, so we need to just rejig the character a little bit. Cole had been really clever, and in terms of being aware of this casting challenge, had kind of left some room for Kaz's character. And in fact, our casting call was really broad. We saw non-binary people, trans mass people, trans femme people. We wanted to, find the talent, because we weren't so sure what was out there. And it turned out to be a surfeit of riches. And then when we saw Elz, we're like, that is our Kaz. He's Māori, and that was never written. And this is probably obvious. Māori people are the indigenous people of New Zealand. And so that opened up a whole lot of possibilities as well. And that was just one of the moments of pure joy and excitement. And then I got to meet you, Elz, in person after I came back from Berlin, and started kind of doing all the chemistry pairing. And it was, I knew that we had Rūrangi there when we found Elz. And then, on top of that, lots of, Ramon is actually an old friend of mine, Ramon Tewake, who plays Ellie. And, we cast broadly for Ramon as well, but she just nailed it. And as an added bonus, she's an incredible singer, and the track at the end of the film, which is kind of like a contemporary cover of Bronski Beat's Small Town Boy, which kind of parallels the story a little bit, and is a big LGBTQ anthem song. Ramon sings that, and so just so much talent, and casting of gender diverse actors in sort of character roles that are more normally sort of ascribed to cisgender people, and that was cool as well.
I'm so glad that your agent found you in the supermarket on your phone. It sounds like
So another thing to point out, I keep forgetting this, is that Elz has never been in front of a camera on stage before he did Rūrangi.
No.
Enormous burden on his shoulders. So, total raw talent, and just smashed it out of the park. And it boggles me, actually, what he managed to achieve with kind of no experience.
You fooled me. I had no idea. How did you do that?
I don't friggin' know. I just think I don't know. Just be yourself. I just was myself the whole time. And I think that's what made this whole process sort of easy and free flowing for me. And then just being surrounded by amazing people, and like Max, Craig, and Cole. Like, yeah, I feel very lucky for it being my first project. Like, yeah, just I don't know. Universe is crazy, man. Yeah.
Well, are you getting inundated yet with people asking you to audition for their films?
Yeah, I've been doing a few auditions, and yeah, it's been a weird experience. But I think up until now, it's been pretty easy, and now I'm finding that I have to go to an audition and then come out going, oh, that was actually really crap. I didn't do very well there, and not get callbacks and go through everything that most actors go through. I mean, some actors spend years and go to hundreds and hundreds of auditions before they get their first role. And I think I'm going through that now. So I'm kind of having to, I think it's a matter of just trusting the process, being patient, and, a script made for me will come to me. And I don't know when that will be, but yeah, so it's been a weird backwards experience, I think.
Can I just point out that Elz has been perfecting his American accent. Just putting that out there.
Oh, yeah. I have been working on that.
I was just going to say, I did a consultation thing recently where half the time they just wanted to talk about how awesome you were and that they wanted to hire you for something.
Well, who was that?
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what you get up to next, because this is I didn't realize that it was your first role. Like, whoa, nicely done.
So when Elz is super famous, we can say we had him first.
Yes. I'm curious. I'd like to kind of like go around and have everyone answer in our last couple minutes. What do you hope that people take away from the film, and the message that you're putting out into the world?
I think we're best to start with Cole on that one.
Yep. All right. I always feel like I'm like talking lots more than everyone else, but that's fine. I guess for trans people that, we are worthy of telling our own stories, and that, that we can have all these things that are in this film, that we can have love and success and romance and affection and community and all of those things like that. And we don't have to only think of all the negative stuff that we see, when so often we see trans narratives, that we're more than just physical transition, and we're more than just tragedy and trauma. There's awesome stuff about being trans, and there is love there. And I guess to other people who watch this film, that this is a universal story about healing and about love in families. And also there's a fuck ton of awesome trans talent out there. Sorry, I'm not sure if I was supposed to swear, but we're super talented. Hire us.
I think you're allowed to swear. I think it's fine.
I was gonna say that's what I want people to go out of the theater, just being blown away by the talent. I often say that talent and voice is kind of forged in the fires of adversity, and I think that's what Rūrangi shows, is just how incredibly talented this community is, and people should feel. I think if you're part of that community, then knowing that your community is out there making amazing work, and that there's like a place for you, and that's really exciting. And if you're an ally or connected to, or a friend or family, or just curious about the gender diverse community, that I want you to walk out of the theater and be blown away, and realize that this community is like a resource in terms of fresh, beautiful, interesting new stories. And I think that's what everyone in the industry is clamoring for. Like, where are the great new stories? And they're in the trans community.
and by the trans community.
Yeah.
I might follow that up. I think my takeaway that I would love people to have is more directed at filmmakers, in that there's really no excuse now for non-authentic representation. It's authentic representation and bringing people's voices to screen is what makes projects unique, and that becomes your story. So I guess that's what I'm hoping people take away from it.
I guess that's me. I've had to answer this question quite a few times, and I always just say the same thing. I just want people to take what they need from it, regardless of whether they're transgender or not. I think someone can get. I think you can. There's a lesson in everything. I don't know. I just think take what you want from it. There's no rules, and that's all I can say about that. Just as an actor, I guess just be yourself, work hard, and amazing things can come. Trust the universe. It's got you.
Awesome. Well, I for one, I think took all those things away. Part of the reason why I was like, this movie rules and we're going to show it and people are going to love it. So thank you all so much for chatting with me. And I'm really genuinely excited to see what you do next, because if this is the first thing I'm seeing that you're doing, whoa, you set the bar real high, and I look forward to seeing what you do after. And to all those out there in internet land, please enjoy the rest of Frameline, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.